Did you know that international students contributed almost $27 billion to the US economy in 2014? This corresponds to a 12% increase compared to 2013, where international students brought $24 billion to the United States. 1.13 million students were enrolled at nearly 8,979 US schools. This marked a 14.18% increase in international students when compared to January 2014 data. 76% of all international students were from Asia. The top 10 countries of citizenship for international students included China, India, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Japan, Vietnam, Taiwan, Mexico, and Brazil. California, New York, and Texas are the top 3 states that host 32% of the international students in the US. The top 3 cities in the United States populated with international students were New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Santa Ana, Boston, Cambridge, Quincy. Nevertheless, there is a significant amount of international students in Savannah, Georgia, even though Savannah ranks as the 92nd city in the US in the quantity of international students. This growth in international students affects the people of the city and the domestic students. Hello, my name is Akmaral Karbozova, and I study at University in Savannah, Georgia. I was born in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Even though the US plays a huge positive role in my life, I have felt frustrated and unaccepted here. I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. I wanted to interview some international people from my university to see what their opinions are and have they experienced similar struggles as I have.
I'm from Beijing, the capital of China.
I'm from Georgia, southeast of Atlanta.
I'm from Japan.
What city in Japan?
Tokyo.
I'm from Mumbai in India.
I'm from California, and then we transitioned to Arizona, and that's where I was raised.
I'm from Nigeria.
I am from the Netherlands, more specifically way up north, so yeah.
What city?
Groningen.
I was born in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. And when I was in first grade, I moved to the United States. And from first grade to fifth grade, I was in the United States. Then I moved back for middle school and high school to Kazakhstan. And I always knew that I'd come back for university because I really liked it here.
I was shocked to hear how many of the interviews had practically nothing negative to say about US citizens.
Well, initially, it was definitely a really big change. People are much more polite with strangers, and that was something I got used to. It's not like we're not polite back home, but we don't make small conversations like "Hi, how are you?" and keep on talking like that. We don't do that back home.
Because they are overly nice, you know, when you meet someone, hey, how are you? Which is a social sentence. The people aren't really asking how you are. And to Dutch people, that's fake. That's if you ask how someone is doing, you genuinely want to know. But I don't feel that's fake, and I don't feel that means, that they're being fake nice. Americans are actually really nice people.
But I feel like there's a lot of distance between people here. And yeah, I recently talked to a boy in my class just about yesterday or the day before. It's very focused on being independent. Everybody's very focused on being independent here, and they're not really extremely close to each other.
Well, I think I have more domestic friends just because a lot of the international people tend to stick with people that are from the same place as them, just because it's a sense of familiarity, I would assume.
Everyone's incredibly independent. I feel like friendships, that's a big part of it, because when I'm with my friends from back home, we rely on each other. We rely on each other to do things, and we expect things to get done because we're friends. But here, you have to rely on yourself. You do whatever you need to do, and you can't rely on your friend's word.
Only some, after the interview ended, confessed in what they thought offensive comments, saying that they do not feel understood or do not understand the people surrounding them.
One of the main things that I have to deal with on a daily basis when I meet people is saying my name. it's a very unpleasant experience in this country because I can't say it the correct way, like Akmaral Karbozova. I have to do it American way, which is Akmaral Karbozova. And it just feels like a part of me is being taken away, I would say, because my name is so important to me, and it's hard when you meet someone and they not only do not understand what you just said, but they also speak to you in a very rude manner about it. Like they'll say, "What?" And they'll say, "What is that? What does that mean?" So I have to kind of suck it up.
It's so funny how you let it go immediately, like anything negative that happens, you don't let it bother you.
Yeah, I don't like bother. Why you want to keep this one? I'm just curious. Like, someone say some bad word to you. Why you care about that?
What type of questions did they ask?
I mean, it's the typical African questions like, oh, do you hunt? Or I heard your spears and stuff like that. And yeah, it's funny. Maybe there are places like that, but I never grew up seeing things like that.
I would find that incredibly offensive.
No, people don't just know. You can't blame them for not knowing.
I didn't feel at home. I always felt like I was trying to be someone else when I was here, but I really did like the education and I always wanted to go back. When I was here for elementary school and I lived in Washington, D.C., I would wake up every single day and I would want to go to school. In Kazakhstan, I would wake up every single day wanting to not go to school, wanting to just skip school. I had this extreme desire to not be there. I felt like my life wasn't going anywhere, and that's part of our educational system. It's pretty poor, at least the school that I went to. But after going through all of the troubles that I did when I was a child, not knowing who I was, and I think that's very important, having an identity crisis at such a young age. My parents are Kazakh. My dad works at the Kazakh embassy. The people who I was most comfortable with were Kazakh, but they didn't go to my school. I was the only Kazakh person in my community. And I felt like my natural behavior, the behavior of my genetics, I would say, did not fit the behavior that was standard for the typical US citizens. And I always felt at a very young age that I wasn't behaving properly, that my natural behavior was just, it was looked down upon, and I would try so hard to be American, even though my parents always taught me being Kazakh means being noble, being Kazakh means being a good person, people who do good deeds, and they would constantly explain what being Kazakh meant, and all Kazakhstan meant to me were my distant memories of, or not my distant, but my faded memories of my childhood, of kindergarten, of my relatives. And that's the thing, for 5.5 years, I never visited Kazakhstan because we couldn't.
I know a lot of international students, they don't want to waste their money, they don't want to waste their time to study in another country. So, I mean, they always work hard. Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to say American people in a bad way, but I mean, I think international students more work hard than American people.
Do you feel it's because since the American students are on their soil, on their country, they take it for granted?
Probably.
Do you feel that Chinese students in China take the education for granted?
Probably because we study on board, like in another country. It's not in our country. Probably we go back to China, we got the same situation, you know what I'm saying?
So, would you say in the Netherlands,
what do students want to do? Like, do they want to stay in the Netherlands for education, or are they like you who go to the US for education?
I'd say, I think it's not so much what they want, it's what they are confined to. A lot of students just stay in the Netherlands because there's nowhere really else to go. But there's also this sense of, I honestly don't know what it is, maybe fear, or could also be very well money issues, but the European Union allows us to go to school basically anywhere if the country is in the Union. So you can go to the UK if you have the means, or go to Poland or Italy. It doesn't matter, as long as you get accepted and have the money. Students don't really seem to do that. I don't know why. They do exchanges for maybe a year with other schools through their Dutch university or college. But going to the US or even Canada or Australia or something, just anywhere that's pretty far where you can speak English so people can get around, is really rare because it costs a lot of money and it is expensive. The state doesn't sponsor that, and the school costs are so different because in the Netherlands you pay $2,000 a year compared to go to the top university. And you get a grant every month from the government to pay for your expenses. Compared to here,
For every student?
Yeah, every student.
Wow. Have you interacted with international students that told you about any fun facts about their country?
Yeah, my buddy Raza told me every year they would have this festival in Pakistan where they would just let up a bunch of kites and the whole sky would be covered in kites. And I thought that was amazing because, when people come here, for instance, my girlfriend, she's never experienced the 4th of July here. And what we do here is we shoot off fireworks and stuff. So it's very, very different. I thought that was really neat. And he said it's beautiful. He says if, ever you're able to go to that part of the world, definitely try and experience that.
People sometimes don't know that America has been such a big part in my life, but once they find out that I go to university in the United States, again, that's the first thing that they call me. Oh, you're American, and it doesn't hurt me as much as it did when I was younger, but I still don't like being called that. I'm not less than you are, or not enough like you are. And of course I want to go back to university, come back to the United States for university, because I feel like this country has so much to offer. And I feel like the teachers here are very passionate about what they do.
This process of finding students who are willing to share their opinions and stories altered my thought process. People have dealt with prejudices, ignorance, and insulting remarks, but they don't allow those words to put them down.
From what I see, American people are more freedom. And other country people, especially from Asian country, are kind of stereotypes. It's kind of same as Japanese people, so I can get a feeling easily.
I was always looked at funny because I didn't dress like everyone else. Not because I dressed strangely. I just didn't want to follow what everyone else did. I don't like that. And people knew that I was weird just by looking at me because I didn't conform to society standards. But here, it's just amazing how people are so confident and so proud in who they are, but they dress in the most, I would say absurd ways, but it's them. They're expressing themselves. And I find it fascinating. It's wonderful how free they can be. I think that's something that everyone feels with the United States, that it's free. And that word isn't really associated with the United States with me, but I've heard a lot of international students say that. Freedom, freedom. America equals freedom.
Seem to shake the weight of living.